So far in the book of Leviticus, we've looked at a lot of different offerings and the mechanics of how each one of these offerings work, which animals are used for the offerings, how the offering is prepared, which portion of the animal was cooked on the fire, and which portion was received by the priest for performing the offering. And then there was offerings that were of grains and flours, like grain crushed into flour, like for baking, not flowers as in roses and stuff, the other flour. And that's kind of cool, but it has not moved the story on any further from where we left off in Exodus. In this section here that we're looking at, this is really a continuation of the very end of the book of Exodus. Exodus, the second half of it, dealt with the tabernacle, the creation of the tabernacle. We saw Moses going up on the mountain, communicating with the Lord, getting the plans for the tabernacle, coming down, getting items prepared for the tabernacle. People were donating things, and then they were following the instructions that God outlined, and the tabernacle was eventually made. And there was a whole lot of different components. There's all the stuff inside the tent, what the tent's made out of, the coverings of the tent, what's outside of the tent, and how that's all made. And then we have the outer border. There's just a whole lot of different components to make up this tabernacle, this portable vessel for God to dwell in and be with the people of Israel. And this chapter here continues on in the same sense as the very end of Exodus, with the anointing process of the tabernacle. And that's what this chapter here takes a look at and explains it again. There's some differences between this and our previous time looking at the tabernacle, but the differences are more nuanced and expanded upon in different ideas and different mechanisms, but it's basically the same between the two. Just some details are omitted in one and detailed in the other, and vice versa. So it's two accounts of the same event. Leviticus 8:1. And the Lord said to Moses, 8:2. Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, symbols of their office, and the anointing oil, and the bowl of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread. 8:3. And assemble all the congregation at the door of the tent of meeting. This looks to be a very big moment here. A lot of stuff is going on. The Lord is communicating to Moses and giving him direction. We have the assembly coming to the tent of meeting. Aaron and his sons are prepared in their holy garments. We have anointing oil, a sin offering, rams, and unleavened bread. What is going on here? Leviticus 8:4. Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and the congregation was assembled at the door of the tent of meeting. 8:5. Moses told the congregation, this is what the Lord has commanded to be done. 8:6. Moses brought Aaron and his sons and washed them with water. 8:7. He put on Aaron the long undertunic, girded him with the long sash, clothed him with the robe, put the ephod, an upper vestment, upon him, and girded him with the skillfully woven cords attached to the ephod, binding it to him. 8:8. And Moses put upon Aaron the breastplate also. He put in the breastplate the Urim and the Thummim, articles upon which the high priest put his hands when seeking the divine will concerning the nation. 8:9. And he put the turban or mitre on his head. On it in front, Moses put the shining gold plate, the holy diadem, as the Lord commanded him. 8:10. And Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was in it, and consecrated them. 8:11. And he sprinkled some of the oil on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its utensils. and the laver and its base, to consecrate them. 8 and 12. And he poured some of the anointing oil upon Aaron's head and anointed him to consecrate him. 8 and 13. And Moses brought Aaron's sons and put under tunics on them and girded them with sashes and wound turbans on them as the Lord commanded Moses. 8 and 14. Then he brought the bull of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the bull of the sin offering. 8 and 15. Moses killed it and took the blood and put it on the horns of the altar round about with his fingers and poured the blood at the base of the altar and purified and consecrated the altar to make atonement for it. The events here that we see sound very familiar, and they sound familiar because this is what occurred during Exodus. At the end of Exodus, well, mostly the last half of the book of Exodus deals with the tabernacle, the creation of the tabernacle, the different items that go inside the tabernacle, how it's all to be constructed, then the courtyard of the tabernacle, the altars, and the different items that make it up. We have it described how they're to be built. Then we have the items that are used to build them, and then the people that actually make them. And then the event that we're looking at right here, right now in the book of Leviticus, is the consecration, the anointing of the items of the tabernacle for the use. So this is the consecration of the priest and the sanctuary and all the different items that make up the tabernacle, the stuff in the tent, the stuff outside of the tent, getting it all ready for its use. And this is just a different point of view or perspective of that particular event. And we do have a lot of details here. And it kind of streamlines the entire process as well. And that's kind of nice and friendly as well. Leviticus 8 and 16. He took all the fat that was on the entrails and the lobe of the liver and the 2 kidneys with their fat. And Moses burned them on the altar. 8 and 17. But the bull, the sin offering, and its hide, its flesh, and its dung, he burned with fire outside the camp, as the Lord commanded Moses. 8 and 18. He brought the ram for the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. 8 and 19. And Moses killed it, and dashed the blood upon the altar round about. 8 and 20. He cut the ram into pieces, and Moses burned the head, the pieces, and the fat. 8 and 21. And he washed the entrails and the legs in water. Then Moses burned the whole ram on the altar. It was a burnt sacrifice for a sweet and satisfying fragrance, an offering made by fire to the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. 8 and 22. And he brought the other ram, the ram of consecration and ordination, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the ram. 8 and 23. And Moses killed it and took some of its blood and put it on the tip of Aaron's right ear and on the thumb of his right hand and on the great toe of his right foot. 8 and 24. And he brought Aaron's sons, and Moses put some of the blood on the tips of their right ears and the thumbs of their right hand and the great toes of their right feet. And Moses dashes the blood upon the altar round about. 8 and 25. And he took the fat tail, all the fat that was on the entrails, the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and their fat, and the right thigh. 8 and 26. And out of the basket of unleavened bread that was before the Lord, he took 1 unleavened cake, a cake of oiled bread, and 1 wafer, and put them on the fat and on the right thigh. 8 and 27, and he put all these in Aaron's hand and his son's hand, and waved them for a wave offering before the Lord. 8 and 28, then Moses took these things from their hands and burned them on the altar with the burnt offering as an ordination offering for a sweet and satisfying fragrance, an offering made by fire to the Lord. 8 and 29, and Moses took the breast and waved it for a wave offering before the Lord, for the ram of consecration and ordination. It was Moses' portion, as the Lord commanded Moses. 8 and 30, and Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood which was on the altar, and sprinkled it on Aaron and his garments, and upon his sons and their garments also. So Moses consecrated Aaron and his garments and his sons garments. 8 and 31. And Moses said to Aaron and his sons, boil the flesh at the door of the tent of meeting, and there eat it with the bread that is in the basket of consecration and ordination, as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. 8 and 32, and what remains of the flesh and of the bread you shall burn with fire. 8 and 33, and you shall not go out of the door of the tent of meeting for 7 days until the days of your consecration and ordination are ended, for it will take 7 days to consecrate and ordain you. 8 and 34, as has been done this day, so the Lord has commanded to do for your anointment. 8 and 35, at the door of the tent of meeting you shall remain day and night for 7 days, doing what the Lord has charged you to do, that you die not, for I am also commanded. 8 and 36, so Aaron and his sons did all the things which the Lord commanded through Moses. The tabernacle event, the creation of the tabernacle and the anointing of the tabernacle, bringing the tabernacle into service. It's kind of a wonderful event of fellowship of God dwelling with his people, the Israelites, and building a relationship with them, teaching them and growing this people into a mighty nation, as we'll see later on. It started with a family. Well, I guess it started with a person, then it turned into a family, and soon it's going to be a great and mighty nation. So it's pretty neat. The tabernacle is loaded with tons of symbolism that relates to what we see in the New Testament when it comes to the salvation brought to us by Jesus. And you don't have to look that far. You just look at the garment of the high priest and all the items that are on it and all the little facets. It's just loaded with symbolism. The whole tabernacle is loaded with symbolism, with the materials and the types and the designs, and there's just all this like hidden meaning, but it's not so hidden that you can't find it, that if you really are diligent in your studies you can kind of figure out what's going on. But at the same time, the big picture is there as well. Jesus is like the high priest. The high priest acts as the middleman between the common person and God. So in the way that the high priest allows the Israelites to communicate with God, we have Jesus, who is the high priest of the New Testament, and he allows us, the common person, to have a relationship with God, rebuilding that relationship that was broken by sin in the fall of man at the beginning of Genesis, and throughout our lives as people who sin a lot and fall short to the glory of God. So we have Jesus, who acts as the intercessory, the middleman, to rebuild that relationship, and that is pretty cool.